Hi, my name is Terry Pearson, and today I'm going to be reading stories from my new book, No More Days. It's a collection of short, scary stories. You can find it on Amazon. Please find that link and more horror content on my page, Something Spooky. Today I'm going to be reading Trash Spider. Elias Wilde carried a bulging, leaky bag of trash down to the street where the can already waited for tomorrow's pickup. Inside the Chambly house, his father was passed out in a faded, creaky recliner with stuffing sprouting up through the patchwork holes. Empty beer bottles encircled his chair like candles around a shrine, and more clanked noisily in the smelly bag Elias lugged over his shoulder. He felt something wet from the bag ooze down his back. It was surprising and cold, and Elias tried to shift the bag away from his body. He could feel the weight give way as the sack burst open and spewed its mixed bile of food, backwash, dirty tissues, and the cat's litter all over the driveway. Elias froze in place and couldn't even bring himself to turn around and look at it, as he felt more sludge run down his back, legs, and into his socks. Mostly, his thoughts were on his dad, hopefully still asleep in that chair, and his belt, hopefully still around his waist. Then there was a sharp pain on the back of his ankle. The image of a needle piercing his Achilles tendon flashed through his mind. He dropped to one knee and instinctively swatted the spot, feeling his hand smush something hairy and spindly into his skin. Looking at it, a gooey mess of spider legs, bloods, and guts, what remained of its fat body, and a chunky green substance was smeared on his hand. His palm began to burn, and he became dizzy, his head swimming in circles up to the clouds. Hours later, his father awoke to the dead blue light of the television screen in the otherwise dark house. A stain of yellow light bled in from the front porch light, and crickets cheered their dominance of the night. Joshua Wilde pulled himself forward, and the recliner screamed. He kicked over some bottles of Grain Belt lager that spun across the floor like someone was looking for a kiss. He scratched at his receding hairline and shuffled awkwardly towards the screen door, letting in the cold evening air. From the doorway, he could see the mound of trash in the driveway. The black bag billowed in shredded halves, and a pile of gunk squirmed and reeked. Joshua stepped out on the porch, the screen door closing with a feeble clang behind him. "Elias, you out here, boy?" His voice was cracked from the nap. "What the hell is this mess?" The night was quiet back. The stirring of the tall pine trees all around whispered secrets. The ground crunched beneath his feet as he stepped into the yard. Clouds rolled over the moon, and a shadow fell on the dim scene. Something rustled in a bush on the other side of the driveway. Joshua locked up his nose as he came to the trash pile. As he was deciphering the stew of crap soaking into his driveway, he missed something large gate low to the ground out of the bushes. It had a human torso, but 8 legs that scurried it silently across the pavement. There was a distribution of hands and palps and hideous blends of them. A misshapen, swollen head sat unnaturally on top. Joshua turned to see it just in time. His son's twisted, mangled face stared up at him. It looked waterlogged. The appendages, flesh, and muscle were too narrow to be human. He could see a crooked spine sprouting sharp little hairs. As a soul-curdling cry nearly stopped his heart, foam sprouted from its mouth, and it sounded like the thing had liquid in its lungs. Then it sprang and took him to the ground, all of its tendrils swiping and clawing, pulling its body on top of his. He screamed, punched, rolled, and even tried to bite the thing. It flipped its body, impossibly arching its legs so that Elias's face hung upside down in front of his own. As he stared into his son's now gray eyes, its law unlatched and cocked backwards with a breaking sound. Then green and yellow vomit erupted onto Joshua's face and into his eyes, nose, and mouth. Screaming and coughing up the bile, Joshua put everything he had into a solid knee. It recoiled it enough that he was able to roll away. As he stumbled his way to his feet, the thing was already grasping again, ripping his clothes and scratching his skin. He ran into the house, crying and shouting to no one for help. Tearing down a cluttered hallway to his bedroom without a door, he flung open the top shelf of a leaning dresser and withdrew his Glock. There was a crash in the living room, and startled, he shot the wall. Joshua was shaking and sweating as he peered around the corner down the messy hallway. He could see wreckage in the living room and knew the thing had either burst through the door or crashed through the window. He called out his son's name, even though he knew he wasn't there. Out of nowhere, the thing came scurrying towards him, running along the wall. Joshua shouted and fired off several shots. They might have nicked it, but the beast didn't even flinch and continued to charge forward. The gun clicked empty. Joshua turned and ran back into his room, and without hesitating, threw himself out the open window right through the screen. He landed with a painful thud on the hard dirt and rolled over to see the thing trying to fit itself through the same opening, thrashing and making horrible noises with his son's mouth. He pushed himself up and took off, a throbbing pain in his knee hobbling his escape. He turned back just in time to see his son's face, bouncing awkwardly on the blasphemous body, hiss and bare its teeth. He thought about Elias's 12th birthday party, the one where he broke a yardstick over his son's back. He stopped running. That was Trash Spider from No More Days. Thank you very much.